Hi everyone, I'm Sonia Nan, your biology educator for class 10. And in this video session, we will be covering life processes part 4, which is transportation in humans and plants. Hope you all are doing well. Now let's start with our today's video lecture. First, we will see the content of the lecture. We will be discussing transportation in human beings, human circulatory system, components of circulatory system, working of heart, and lymph. These are the topics we will be covering under transportation in human beings. Next, we have another important topic, transportation in plants. And in this particular topic, we will be covering vascular tissues, transportation of water, and food. Now we can move to the main slide, that is transportation in human being. Here we have human circulatory system. Human circulatory system diagram. This picture represents human circulatory system. If we see this picture, what you can locate is this portion. This is our heart, and our heart is located in the thoracic cavity. This portion which I have marked is thoracic cavity. And in layman language, if I try to convey you that this the chest cavity, the chest part, this comes under thoracic cavity, and our heart is located in the center of chest between the lungs. So this small bag like structure is heart. Now what are arteries and veins? This we will discuss in upcoming slide. So now you have an idea of circulatory system, and this network of arteries and veins is present throughout the body. Okay, so our circulatory system is present throughout the body. Now if we see what is circulatory system, circulatory system is the main transport system in human beings. As in our previous sections, we have covered that food is digested, then the simpler substances are distributed throughout the body. Our last section we also covered there are many gases like CO2 and O2 which are converted fast throughout the body, and exchange of these gases is essential for the purpose of respiration. These gases, the simpler substances, are transported throughout the body with the help of circulatory system. So we need circulatory system for the transport of these various substances, including simpler substances, nutrients, various gases like CO2 and O2, and nitrogen waste. All these things, for the transport of these material, we need transport system, and that transport system in our body, in human, is circulatory system. Circulatory system is the main transport system in human beings. We have components of circulatory system. Circulatory system is made up of blood, okay, vein, arteries, capillaries, and heart. These are the components of circulatory system. Till now we have covered the definition of circulatory system, the need of circulatory system, and the components of circulatory system. Okay, and this is the diagrammatic representation of human circulatory system. Now let's move to the next slide. Here we have circulatory system components. As we have discussed in our previous slide, different components of circulatory system. Now we will look each component in detail. Blood consists of a fluid medium called plasma, in which the cells are suspended. Plasma transport food, carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. Now what does this mean? First we should be knowing what is blood. Blood is a connective tissue. This you must have studied in your 9th standard. The blood is connective tissue, and blood consists of plasma, RBCs, and platelets. RBCs are cells. Apart from cells, other cells are also present, but for now you just remember RBCs. In blood we have plasma, RBCs, platelets. These are the components of blood. Blood is a connective tissue. Connective tissue means which is present throughout the body, and it works as a connection for the different organs communication. As we have to transport various substances, nutrients, gases throughout the body, so we need blood for that purpose. If we try to decode this particular line, blood consists of a fluid medium called plasma. This we know that blood consists of plasma in which the cells are suspended. RBCs, WBCs, different type of cells are suspended in plasma. They are the component of blood. Plasma. There is function of plasma, very important function. Plasma transport food, carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. Whatever in our body, in our circulation, transported, majority of that is transported by plasma, like carbon dioxide and other nitrogenous waste. These are transported by plasma. If I say that these substances are transported by plasma, We can also say na ki these transported by blood, as plasma is the component of blood. If plasma is transporting something, then we can also say that blood is transporting that particular thing. Okay, as blood is made up of plasma only, right? So I can say ki blood transports food, carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste. Will that be all right? Yeah, obviously that will be perfect, because plasma is a component of blood. So here we will say that blood transports food, carbon dioxide, and other nitrogenous waste in throughout the body. This was the role of blood. Next we have blood vessels. Blood vessels are the tube-like structures. These are tubular structures, structures like these. We have blood vessels. Vessel, you understand. Vessel, you know. What is vessel? Vessel is any container. Vessel is container, and in container we keep something. Same way we have blood vessels. Blood vessels keep blood. Now we have different type of blood vessels in our body. We have two types of blood vessels: arteries and vein. What is artery, what is vein? Difference between these two type of vessels. Okay, and another third one we have is capillary. So in upcoming slides we will be discussing arteries, vein, difference between both, and capillaries. So here we have, these are the arteries and these are the veins. First we will see arteries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart to various organs of the body. We have heart. This is our heart, and let's say this is our body organ. You can take any organ like liver, kidney, any organ. Artery are the type of blood vessels. They will carry blood away from the heart. So this is our heart and this is our body organ, and let's say this is a blood vessel. This I have drawn a blood vessel, and this blood vessel contain blood obviously, and this blood is coming from heart, and from heart where does it going? To body organs. This is the blood vessel which brings blood from the heart to body organs. This blood vessel is arteries. Arteries are the blood vessels which carry blood from the heart to the body organs. Now veins. What are veins? Veins are again the blood vessels. Difference is arteries carry blood from heart to body organ, but in case of veins, they collect the blood from different organs and bring it back to the heart. What are veins? Veins are the blood vessels. A second type of blood vessel we have drawn here. And this blood vessel, note the arrow direction. Body or this is our body organ. Okay, and this is the direction of blood vessel. Blood is flowing in this direction. Blood is flowing from body organ to our heart. This is the vessel which brings blood back to the heart. Okay, it collects the blood from body organ and then passes it to the heart. So this blood vessel is vein. Now we have two type of blood vessels, arteries and veins, and we have understood how these two vessels work in opposite direction. Arteries, heart to body organ, and veins, body organ to heart. Arteries carry pure blood. What is this pure blood? And veins carry impure blood. What is the difference between pure blood and impure blood? Okay, now let's understand what is pure blood first. Pure blood, this is just for your understanding, you have to remember these written points only. What is pure blood? Pure blood is the blood which have higher oxygen content. In the pure blood, oxygen content is high, carbon dioxide content is less. And what is impure blood? In impure blood, oxygen content is less and carbon dioxide content is high. This is the difference between pure blood and impure blood. Impure blood have higher level of oxygen and impure blood have lower level of oxygen and higher level of carbon dioxide. So for pure blood, in which we have high amount of oxygen, we use another term, that is oxygenated blood, and the impure blood which have less oxygen amount and high CO2. For that we use deoxygenated term. So whenever I say oxygenated blood, that means pure blood, and whenever we say impure blood, that means deoxygenated blood. Now the arteries carry pure blood. Here we can write pure, okay, and veins carry impure blood. Here we can write impure. Here we have the arteries have thick and elastic walls, and the veins have thin walls and have walls. Now the arteries have thick walls and vein have thin walls. Why the difference between the width of this wall? In arteries we have higher pressure of blood compared to veins. As they are carrying blood from heart, the blood flows in high pressure in arteries So the arteries have thick wall to protect the walls from rupturing. They have thick walls, okay, to resist the high pressure. In case of veins, they have thin walls because the pressure blood in case of vein is not higher compared to arteries. They have low blood pressure. This is the reason they have thin walls, and in arteries they have thick walls. Also, they have elastic walls to resist the high pressure of blood. In case of veins, we have this extra properties, valves. What does this valve? Is a gate-like structure. Okay, this is a gate-like structure. Now, why are the valves are present in veins? Valves are present to restrict, to prevent the backflow of blood. As the blood flows from body organ to heart in vein, the pressure of blood is very low, and as the pressure of blood is low, so chances are there that blood can move in backward direction. To prevent that backward flow, veins have valves, and these valves will prevent the backflow of blood in veins. Okay, did you understand this? That veins have valves and they have thin walls, and in arteries we have thick walls and elastic walls, and there is no need of valve because in arteries already this much pressure is present that it won't be able to move in backflow. They only move forward in forward direction. This is about arteries and vein. Now you know what is artery, what is vein, what is their function, what is the difference between arteries and veins. Next we have capillaries, the third type of blood vessel. Capillaries are the smallest vessels, okay, and they have one celled thick walls. Smallest vessels means they are smaller than arteries and veins, okay, and they have one cell thick walls, this much. This is one cell thick. Okay, they have one cell thick walls. What is the main role of capillaries? The exchange of material between the blood and surrounding cell takes place across this thin wall of capillaries. Now, if we see, this is our artery, okay, and this is the tissue, okay, this is the tissue. This is tissue. As the blood comes from arteries, it enters into capillaries. Okay, it enters into capillaries, and through the walls of capillaries, the exchange of material takes place. Exchange of material takes place. Exchange. Okay, once the cell has taken up all the required material from the arterial blood, from the oxygenated blood, pure blood, with the help of capillaries walls, then this blood moves out of the tissue through the tissue, and here we have again the capillaries. Then the used blood, impure blood from body organ will exit out with the help of capillaries, and these capillaries will join to form vein, and this vein again go back to heart. This is organ, any organ, tissue, cell. Okay, what happen is our arteries bring blood from heart, and the arteries carry always oxygenated blood, okay, pure blood, and that pure blood is used by the cells. Then after using that pure blood, the cells add carbon dioxide into the blood, and due to the addition of carbon dioxide in the blood and they use oxygen from the blood, what the cells do, cells utilize oxygen from the blood and they add CO2 in the blood. Once oxygen level is decreased and CO2 level is increased in the blood, that blood becomes impure or deoxygenated. Then that blood is taken up by the veins with the help of capillaries, and then those veins drain that blood, pass that blood into the heart, back to the heart. This is what I'm trying to convey. This is this intermediate here and here too. These are capillaries. So if we try to understand this point, the exchange of material between the blood and surrounding cell takes place across the thin wall of capillaries. Now the capillaries then join together to form vein. This is also I told you, and then convey the blood away from the organ or tissue to the heart. Next we have another component, the most important component. Okay, heart is our pump. Heart is the pump of body. This is the pumping organ of body. And what does it pump? Pumps blood. Heart pumps blood. In higher classes we use another term for, more scientific term for heart is cardiac. Cardiac. No need to remember this term cardiac. I have just told you. Okay. Cardiac. Now, heart is our pumping organ of our body, and it pumps blood. Here we have a diagram from your NCERT. In this diagram, if we see, human heart consists of four chambers. First is right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. These are the four chambers which are present in human heart. What are these chambers? Chambers are box-like structures. Now, if we see the in diagram, the right atria. This is the right atria. This whole structure is right atria, and below the right atria we have this right ventricle. Okay, this is right ventricle. And if we see on left side, we have this left atria and this left ventricle. So left atria, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. Atria are on upper side and ventricle are on lower side. Apart from this, we have these vessels here, pulmonary arteries, pulmonary vein. This we will discuss in upcoming slide. Now we know that right atrium is on upper side, right ventricle is on lower side, atrium is on upper side and left ventricle is on lower side. Next we have some information on human heart. Our heart is muscular organ. What does this mean? Muscular organ. Muscular means muscles. Our heart consists of muscles, certain muscles, which are specific to heart. They are present in heart only, and those muscles are cardiac muscles. The muscles present in our heart are cardiac muscles. Our heart is four-chambered heart. If we see, these are the four chambers. The upper chamber, as I have right atria, one is right ventricle. This is left atria, and this one is left ventricle. And here between the right atria and right ventricle we have a valve gate, and here also we have a valve gate. This is the diagram of a heart. Note this flowchart. And here we have human heart. Location. What is the location of human heart? Our heart is located in thoracic cavity between the lungs, slightly on left side. Our heart is located between the lungs and slightly on left side. Next we have working of the heart. Working of the heart means circulation of blood. Till now we have understood the components of circulatory system, and we have studied the structure of heart. Now we will see working of the heart. How does our heart work? How does our heart pumps the blood? This is the function of heart, pumping of blood. So now we will see how our heart pumps the blood. And this process of pumping blood, working of heart, is known as circulation of blood. If I say working of heart and if I say circulation of blood, both means same. This is the diagrammatic representation of circulatory system. Before we understand this circulatory system, we should know that we have double circulation in our body. Double circulation means in one cycle of pumping, blood flows through the heart twice. This is the reason we say that we have double circulation. In working of heart, we will see circulation of blood, how the blood circulates in our circulatory system. First, we will start from our body organ. This is our body organ. Let's say this is liver, or let's say this is kidney, any organ. As I have told you earlier, from body organ, the blood comes out is always impure blood, high in CO2 content, deoxygenated blood. That blood contains higher level of carbon dioxide and lower level of oxygen. The blood comes out from the body organ is containing high content of CO2, and this blood is deoxygenated blood or impure blood. Now this impure blood or deoxygenated blood passes into right atrium. Which vessel carries this deoxygenated blood or impure blood from the body organ to the heart? Vessel? Vein. Veins carries this deoxygenated blood from the body to the heart, and in heart vein opens into right atrium. This we have heart, the circular structure. This is heart, and in heart we have these four chambers. Okay, and this vein opens into right atrium. Once the blood comes in right atrium, after that the blood passes to right ventricle. From right atrium, blood passes to right ventricle, and then from right ventricle, this blood passes to lungs. See the direction of arrow. You will get an idea what I'm trying to convey you. From this right ventricle, the blood passes to lungs, and this blood contains higher level of CO2 as it is impure blood and deoxygenated blood. Okay, and now this is lungs. This blood, this deoxygenated blood is transported to lungs from the heart. Now, in our last section, in respiration part, we have covered this thing that exchange of gases CO2 and O2 take place inside the lungs. This process takes place inside the lungs. Exchange of gases. The impure blood, the blood which have higher content of CO2, passes to lungs, and in lungs there are structures which helps in the exchange of gases, and here exchange of gases will occur. Exchange of gases means CO2 will be taken out from the blood and oxygen is added in the blood. So here we bring deoxygenated CO2 containing blood in the lungs, and what will lungs do? They will take out CO2 from the blood and then add oxygen into the blood. As the oxygen is added into the blood, now the blood becomes oxygenated blood containing higher level of O2. Blood which contains higher level of oxygen, what will we say? This blood is pure blood now. Now this pure blood is transported back to the heart. First, this blood vessel opens into left atrium. Once it enters into left atrium, then it passes to left ventricle, from left atrium to left ventricle. Okay, and then from left ventricle it is again sent to body organs and oxygenated blood having high level of oxygen. Then this blood through the blood vessels goes into body. And which type of blood vessels carry this blood, this oxygen containing blood? Arteries. Arteries carry oxygenated blood or pure blood. As the blood enters into the body organ, the cells will uptake oxygen for their metabolic processes. Whichever process requires oxygen, they get this oxygen from the oxygenated blood. Body cells or the organ will take up the essential nutrients and oxygen from the oxygenated blood, pure blood, and then add CO2 again, and that CO2 containing impure blood again taken up by the veins, and then this whole process will, this is circulation. Now, how does it double circulation? See, in this we have this partition between the right part and the left part. The left part and right part never mixes. So we have two circulations, the right and left. This is the region we are saying that we have double circulation. This is all about circulatory system. Now before I'll move on next slide, I want to make you clear about something. Arteries carry oxygenated blood, pure blood, and veins carry deoxygenated blood, impure blood. But there is one exception, pulmonary arteries and pulmonary vein. This is the exception. We have seen earlier that arteries carries oxygenated blood and veins carry deoxygenated blood. But in case of pulmonary arteries and pulmonary vein, the case is different. Pulmonary means lungs. These pulmonary arteries are the blood vessels which brings blood to lungs, and pulmonary vein are the vessels which brings blood away from the lungs. If we see here with the help of diagram, this we have here pulmonary artery. What does pulmonary arteries do? Pulmonary arteries brings blood from the heart to lungs. And what does pulmonary veins? They bring blood back to heart from the lungs. So from heart to lungs, pulmonary arteries, and from lungs to heart, pulmonary veins. The pulmonary arteries carry deoxygenated blood, DO2, impure blood, impure blood. Okay, and the pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood and pure blood. Pulmonary arteries carry deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle, as the right portion of the heart contain deoxygenated blood, and they carries the blood from the right portion of the heart, from the right ventricle to lungs. Okay, so they carry the deoxygenated. And now the pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood, pure blood. Okay, they carry blood from the lungs to the left part of the heart. In left part we have only oxygenated blood. I can write here, in the right part of the heart, and here we have left. In the right part we have impure blood, okay, and in left part we have pure blood. Difference between the right and left: in right we always have deoxygenated and impure blood, and in left side we always have oxygenated and pure blood. This is the difference between right side and left side of the heart. This is all about your double circulation, and this is the exceptional case of arteries and veins. Exception. Understood? What is exception here? Here the pulmonary artery is although it's a type of artery, but it is carrying deoxygenated blood. Okay, but normal arteries carry, other than pulmonary arteries, all other arteries carry pure blood and oxygenated blood. Except pulmonary artery, they carry deoxygenated blood. Same in case of veins. Veins always carry deoxygenated blood, impure blood, but in case of pulmonary vein they carry oxygenated blood or pure blood from lungs to the heart. Now here we have this diagram to make you more clear this concept. Oxygen enters the blood in the lungs. This we understood. Oxygen enters in the blood in the lungs where the actual gaseous exchange occur. We have also read this thing in our last section, in our previous section of respiration. Here we have this diagram. This diagram is the representation of transport and exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. How this exchange of gases occur? Exchange of gases occurs in lungs. Then transport of gases occurs through circulatory system. This is the simple answer. And if question comes, how the transport and exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide occur, then you have to draw this diagram, and you have to write also that exchange of gases occur in lungs, in the alveoli surfaces, whatever I have told you in respiration chapter, and then you have to mention the transport system, the circulatory system of gases through the blood. This is the heart. This is the body organ. Okay, and from body organ, veins carry deoxygenated blood to the right atrium, and then this blood passes to right ventricle, and from right ventricle this blood enters into the lungs through pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery I have made you clear already. Inside the lungs, this deoxygenated blood or impure blood is purified by adding oxygen, and once the oxygen is added, this blood becomes oxygenated or pure. Okay, now this pure or oxygenated blood is carried by pulmonary vein from lungs to heart, and in heart it enters into left atria, then from left atria it enters into left ventricle, and then from left ventricle it goes to body via arteries. This is the transport and exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Now here we have the separation of the right side and the left side of the heart. As I have told you that our heart is separated into right side and left side. Okay, right side always contains deoxygenated blood and left side always contains oxygenated. And why this separation is there in our heart? This separation is to ensure that the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood, the pure blood, the impure blood, never mixes. To avoid mixing oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, we have this separation of right side and left side. This was all about your circulation of blood, the working of heart. Next, we have another important question from NCERT. What happens if the system of tubes have a leakage? Let's say an injury is caused to someone and their blood vessels are leaking due to that injury. So now what will happen in our body? Now let's take a daily life example. We have a water pipe in our homes. If that water pipe leaks from somewhere at any point, then what happens? Water will leak out from the pipe. If water leaks, what will we do? We will try to cover that hole from where the pipe is leaking to prevent the loss of water from the pipe. So same thing happens in our body. Let's say this is our blood vessel. Let's say this is our blood vessel. Okay, and this is the hole, this is the leakage from where our vessel is injured, from where the blood is leaking. Our vessels contain blood. There is an injury in vessel wall, the wall is disrupted, leakage will occur and the blood will leak out. through the wall of vessel. Now, this is the leakage of blood. Okay. To stop this leakage of blood, our body have certain type of cells, and those cells are platelets. Platelet cells. These cells circulate throughout the body, and these cells prevent the loss of blood on leakage. How does they do? They cover this hole, they cover this leakage. Okay, let me change this color. They cover this leakage. They cover this leakage so that no more blood will lose. So to avoid loss of blood, platelets cover, platelets clot or plug. Clot or plug means they clot the leakage point. All right. So, and these platelets are present in blood. As I have told you in previous slide, components of blood: plasma, cells, and platelets. So these are the components which clot when there is any leakage in the blood vessel, and they prevent the loss of blood this way. So when there are leaks in the capillaries due to any injury, these platelets help to clot the blood at these points, and plugging the leaks means covering the leaks, and they aggregates on leaks, and this way they prevents blood flow. Plugging the leaks and prevent further blood loss. This is the process which happens when we have a leakage in our blood vessels, let's say capillary wall. This was a question from your NCERT. Now we have another important topic, lymph. What is lymph? Lymph is a fluid. Like blood, it is also a fluid. Through the pores in the walls of capillaries, a portion of plasma, proteins, and blood cells exits into the intercellular space within tissues, creating tissue fluid or lymph. What happens is, let's say we have this tissue. Okay, in this tissue we have these cells. All right, and between these cells we have a space. Let's say this is one cell, this is second cell, and in between these cell we have this space, and this space is known as intercellular space. Intercellular space. The intercellular space is the space which is present between the cells. Okay, this is intercellular space. Intercellular space is the space that is present between the cells inside a tissue. Cells are present in a tissue, and the space between those cells is known as intercellular space. Okay, what happen is plasma, the walls of capillaries, from the walls of capillaries, certain proteins, okay, plasma and blood cells, they will leak out into these intercellular spaces. What will leak out? Plasma, certain proteins, and blood cells. Okay, not all blood cells, certain some few type of blood cells we will discuss in later part. Protein, blood cells, and plasma, and they aggregates here into the intercellular space. Plasma is liquid, and protein and blood cells are solid. So they form a fluid-like structure, and this fluid which is present between the cells due to the leakage of capillaries is known as lymph, or we can also say it tissue fluid, as this fluid is present in tissue between the cells. So we can also say that tissue fluid is lymph. All right. Now this is all about the lymph. Definition of lymph: it is the leakage of blood through the wall of capillaries, and it contains plasma, proteins, and a certain type of blood cells. Now the function. Now next, this lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries, like the blood drains into capillaries, then arteries, veins. Same way, lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries, and then these lymphatic capillaries will form lymphatic vessels. This is about your lymph. Now we have functions of lymph. Lymph transport digested fat. Once the fat is broken down into simpler substances like fatty acid and glycerol, these simpler substances are absorbed inside the lymph in small intestine. Other nutrients are absorbed into the blood, but the fats are absorbed into the lymph, into the tissue fluid. So this is the one function of lymph. Second function of lymph is in immunity. Lymph contains certain type of cells I have told you, and those cells are lymphocytes or white blood cells. White blood cells. Our blood contains more number of RBCs, but our lymph contains higher number of WBCs or lymphocytes. Okay, lymphocytes or white blood cells, WBCs. Now, it contains lymphocyte, and the function of lymphocyte is to kill the germs, the harmful substances which comes from the surrounding inside our body, which enters in our body from our surrounding, and those are harmful substances. The harmful substances are killed out by the lymphocytes, and these lymphocytes are present in our lymph. So there is another function in immunity. They kill germs and then protect our body. This is the function of lymphocyte, and lymphocytes are present in lymph. So we can say it protects our body from harmful pathogens or germs. This is all about your human circulatory system. In this we have covered human circulatory system, components of circulatory system, and working of circulatory system, that is double circulation of blood, and we have covered lymph. This is all about we have covered in this session. In this next we have transportation in plants. If we see transportation in plants, we have here in plants the transportation of materials such as food, water and minerals occurs through specialized conducting tissue called xylem and phloem. like uh, like in our case we had arteries, veins, heart in our circulatory system. Plants lack blood. Plants don't have blood in their body, so they have other type of vascular tissues, other type of tissues to transport water, minerals and food throughout their body. So they have these vascular tissues. Vascular tissues in plants are of two types: xylem, phloem. Plants do not have blood, they have other structures. All right, and those other structures are xylem and phloem. Xylem. Now, these are two different type of vascular tissue on the basis of their structure and function. All right. Xylem performs different function from the phloem. Xylem. What is the function of xylem? Xylem moves water and minerals obtained from the soil. So, the function of xylem is to move water, and and minerals minerals in the plant. Okay, and phloem transports product of photosynthesis from the leaves where they are synthesized to other parts of the plant. Now if I ask you the product of photosynthesis, this we have cleared in our previous section of respiration. We have covered this thing, that the product of photosynthesis, photosynthesis is carbohydrate, glucose, and that glucose is stored inside the plant body as sucrose. Sucrose is the complex compound which is made up of glucose. Okay, so carbohydrate we can say. Phloem transports carbohydrates from the leaves where they are synthesized. Carbohydrates are synthesized in liver. Sorry, in leaves. Carbohydrates are synthesized in leaves. All right, leaves is the site where photosynthesis occur, and after photosynthesis, those end product of the reaction, carbohydrates, are stored inside the leaves. Then, as per requirement of plants, these carbohydrates are transported to other parts. All right, and this transportation of carbohydrate from leaves to other parts of the plant occurs with the help of phloem. So phloem transports food. We can say food. For plant, carbohydrate is the food, or we can also write here carbohydrate. Carbohydrate. Understood? Xylem transports water and minerals throughout the plant body, and phloem transports food, that is carbohydrate, in the different parts of the body. And this carbohydrate is stored in the leaves of the plant. So phloem transports carbohydrate from leaves of the plant to the other parts of. This is about xylem and phloem, the vascular tissues in plant. Next we have this, if we see transport of water in detail. Vessels and tracheates of the roots, stem and leaves are interconnected to form a continuous system of water conducting channel reaching all parts of the plant. Transport of water in plant occur through tracheates and vessels. These are the two components of xylem. Okay, Transport of water occurs through xylem, and xylem have two different parts, components, vessels and tracheids. All right, and vessels and tracheids of the root, stem and leaves are interconnected to form a continuous system of water conducting channel. All right, and this channel reaches to the all part of the plants. You have to just remember that xylem transports water throughout the body of plant, and the main components of xylem are vessels and tracheids. Okay, they transport this water. Now water is absorbed by the root here. This we know that water is absorbed from the, let's say, this is plant, this is plant, and here we have the roots of plant. Now water is absorbed from the soil. This is soil. Water is absorbed from the soil by the roots of plants. By the roots of plants. And then this absorbed water is transported to leaves. Okay? Through xylem. Understood? Now, water is absorbed by the root hairs from the soil through osmosis and root pressure. Okay? Now, if we see the process of transport, we have here root absorption, root of plant. Root absorbs water from soil. Okay, then this absorbed water is transported to other parts by capillaries. Then we have this transpiration pull. Now, what is this transpiration pull? This we will discuss in our next slide. The transpiration pull. How does it work? What is transpiration? Now, water is pulled upward from the roots to the leaves due to transpiration. As water is absorbed from the soil, and then we have to move this water from in plant body in upward direction. For for transporting water from below to above, we need some kind of pull force, and that pull water water is pulled by plant in upward direction by transpiration, and this transpiration we have already covered in our previous section of chapter respiration. Transpiration is the loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts. Aerial parts are the parts which are present above the soil. These are aerial parts. Okay, aerial. These are aerial parts which are above the soil. Okay. Now, loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant is known as transpiration. Water is continuously lost from the leaves, from the stem of the plant. Okay, if you see in winters in the morning, you can trace small droplets on the leaves of plant. That is the result of transpiration. If water is lost in upward direction, then what will happen? A pull will be created, a pull force will be created, and this pull force, this will pull water in upward direction. So transpiration is the reason why the water is transported from root to the upper parts of the plant. So, and what is transpiration? Transpiration is the loss of water in the form of vapors from the aerial parts of the plant. This process is known as transpiration. Understood? What is transpiration? What is the role of transpiration? Role of transpiration is to pull water from root to upper part of the plant. Now, next we have transport of food and other substances. If we see transport of food and other substances, we have here another term, translocation. In case of water transport, we had a transpiration term, and in case of food transport, we have this term translocation, and these are important terms. You have to remember these terms. Now, if we see translocation, in translocation, transport of soluble products of photosynthesis occur, and this process is called translocation. What happens? The food is made and stored in leaves. Then after this, as per requirement, this food is taken from the leaves to the different part of the plant. This food is transported to the different part of plant, and this process of transport of soluble products of photosynthesis, glucose, sucrose, from leaves to other parts of the plant is called translocation. And this translocation is done by phloem, as phloem is responsible for transport of food. Okay, so translocation is done by phloem. Translocation is the process of locating food from the leaves to other parts of the body. Okay, it is the process of transport. So translocation understood. Now next we have this translocation of food and other substances takes place in the sieve tubes with the help of adjacent companion cell both in upward and downward direction. As in case of xylem, we had tracheus and vessels, but in case of phloem, we have these sieve tubes and companion cells. These two structures, sieve tube and companion cells. These structures, we have these structures, sieve tubes and companion cells. So these two structures help in the translocation of food, and sieve tubes and companion cells made phloem, and this is responsible for translocation. The translocation of food and other substances takes place in the sieve tube with the help of adjacent companion cell. Now, in case of transport of water, we had only one directional movement of water from lower side to upper side. But in case of transport of food, we have multiple directions, as food from leaves can move in multiple directions. So here we have multiple directional transport, and in case of water we have unidirectional transport. Understood? This was all about your transport of food and other substances, transport of water in the plant. Next, like material like sucrose is transported into phloem tissue using energy from ATP. Whenever plant transports sucrose from the leaves to any other part, let's say plant is transporting this sucrose carbohydrate from the leaves to the other parts of the plant, then for this task energy is needed, and that energy is supplied in the form of ATP, as ATP is the energy currency of cell. All the energy, whatever organism requires energy in whatever process, that energy is derived from ATP molecule, and this we have covered in our nutrition and its types slide part. Okay, you can watch that video for better understanding of this concept. For the transfer of sucrose, plant needs energy, and this energy comes from ATP molecule. Sucrose transport needs ATP energy. Okay, for the process of transportation. Now pressure moves the material in the phloem to tissue which have less pressure. Okay, how does this food moves in the plant? So food moves from, let's say, leaves. We have leaves. Okay, and here we have stem, and on stem new bud is growing. So here we have higher pressure, and here we have lower pressure. Here we have low pressure. Then the sucrose will move from leaves to stem, from higher pressure to lower pressure, from high pressure to low pressure. Okay, let's take an example to understand this. This example is from your NCERT, and this can be asked in your CBSE. So try to understand this thing. In the spring, sugar is stored in root or stem tissue would be transported to the birds which needs energy to grow. This is the perfect example. What happens in spring? In spring, we see that new buds arises on the plant body. There is germination of new buds on the plant body, and that germination of buds in the plant body energy needs food, and that food comes from leaves. The food is transported from leaves to buds via this pressure difference, from higher pressure to lower pressure. This is the process of transportation of food. Understood? So this is all about transport of food in plants. Next we have key takeaways. To sum up, we can see here human circulatory system. In human circulatory system, we have discussed that our heart is four-chambered heart. It is muscular, have muscles, cardiac muscles, specific muscles which are found in heart only, and it is a pumping organ which pumps blood. This we have discussed in our heart. Now blood vessels, arteries which carry oxygenated blood or pure blood, which carry oxygenated blood or pure blood, veins which carry deoxygenated blood or impure blood. Okay, lymph, intercellular liquid fluid, okay, or tissue fluid. We have discussed this tissue fluid. Now plant transport system, xylem and phloem. Transport system of plant is xylem and phloem, the vascular tissues. We have discussed transpiration, the loss of water from the plant leaves through vaporization. This is transpiration, and we have also understood the process of translocation, transport of transport of food. This is all we have discussed in today's lecture, and with this we completed transport in plants and transport in humans. Hope this is clear to you. Now, in our next part of life processes, which is part number 5, and this is the last part of life processes chapter, and we will wind up this chapter life processes with our part number 5, which is excretion in human and plants.